How is it going, everyone? It's K-Lumity here, and today we're going to be talking about another retro Star Wars video game. Today we're going to be talking about the first video game I ever bought with my own money. It was a long time ago, in the early 2000s, and I was giving, I think, $20 for either my birthday or it was Christmas. I can't remember which one. But I went to Target, and they had Star Wars Bounty Hunter there for $20, and I picked it up, brought it home, and I fell in love with this game. And even to this day, this game is still a ton of fun. It's very well done. The storytelling is great, especially if you're a Star Wars fan and a fan of the Mandalorians. And this is actually the game that made me fall in love with the character of Jango Fett. Jango Fett is one of my favorite characters in Star Wars. I actually like him more than I like Boba Fett. And a lot of people are surprised when they hear that. But I find that a lot of people who are surprised when they hear that haven't played Star Wars Bounty Hunter, because this game did such a great job of fleshing out the character of Jango Fett, just showing his backstory and how he met Count Dooku. And you even get to unlock some of this comic from Dark Horse. You get to unlock some of it by going through the story, and as you do that, you get to see even more of Jango Fett's backstory and how he worked with the other Mandalorians, how he had this friend who unfortunately got killed because of another Mandalorian who ends up being his rival in this game. You just get a lot of backstory to Jango Fett, and it's fantastic, and I love it. And this game, it's a lot of fun. The level design is great as well. Honestly, it obviously doesn't look super great these days, but I think that it looks good enough. You can tell what everything is. It's HDified now on the PlayStation 5 and PlayStation 4, so you can play it on there. And I played it on the PlayStation 5, and it looks fine. It looks good, and it still plays really well also. There is some slowdown from time to time, but there was slowdown in the original one as well. It's usually only when there's like tons and tons and tons and tons of enemies on the screen when that will happen. But it doesn't happen very often. I think it only happened to me once throughout my entire playthrough of this game, and the entire playthrough took about 6.5 hours total. So what is exactly Star Wars Bounty Hunter other than, just the story of Jango Fett and how he met Count Dooku? And Zam Wesell. This is also how he met Zam Wesell. It is a action platforming style game where you get to play as Jango Fett, and you actually get a scanner. You can scan for bounties in each level. You can find bounties. You can either take them in dead or alive. There is a difference in credits, whether you take them in dead or alive. Some people may be worth more alive. Some people may be worth more dead. Some people may not be worth anything alive, and some people may not be worth anything dead. So you really need to pay attention to what they are worth when it comes to dead or alive. But you capture these bounties in levels, and you basically can unlock a bunch of bonus content by capturing these side bounties. But the main goal of the game is actually to go after a Dark Jedi named Vosa. And this Dark Jedi is the leader of a group called the Bando Gora, which is basically a Force cult. And the Bando Gora, they're some of the creepiest enemies in Star Wars, and I really have always been freaked out by them. As a kid, when I first saw the Bando Gora, they were one of the first terrifying things I saw. The way they jump around, the way they crawl around on the ground, the way that when you set them on fire with your flamethrower, they curl up into a ball like a spider. They're very just creepy and eerie. And that always stuck with me as a kid, and even playing through it now, just looking at them, they're so well designed in just how creepy they are. And the planet that they're on is just so creepy in the way that's designed. And even the other planets on the way there, though, are designed very well. I really like the level layout on this game, because to get to Vosa, you obviously have to track her down by going to a bunch of different planets. This includes planets like Coruscant, for example. There's this really cool level where you are basically flying over these skyscrapers. You're flying over them, and you're after a senator who is corrupt, and he's working with Vosa and the Bando Gora. And it's really cool to see just this gigantic, skyscraper setting. You're flying over. You're hanging from, you're hanging from rafters, basically outside, just hoping not to fall to your doom. It's really cool. I love that setup. There's boss fights at the end of a lot of these levels as well that are really well done. I enjoyed the boss fights quite a bit. Some of them are more difficult than others, I will say. One of the toughest boss fights in the game is towards the end of the game against a character named Montross. And Montross is Jango Fett's biggest rival. and he's also really cool. I gotta say, I like Montross. He's one of the coolest villains that there is. He's one of the best villains that there is in Star Wars, and I wish he was canon, let me tell you. And his armor, his Mandalorian armor is sick because he has this helmet and everything, but then he has he's a super strong guy, so his muscles are just hanging out of his armor. He's got no sleeves on his Mandalorian armor, so he just looks like a bodybuilder wearing a Mandalorian helmet, and it's really cool. But yeah, the boss fight against him, you actually have about 3 different boss fights against Montross, and they're all really fun. The first 2 are pretty easy, and then the last one is when it gets really difficult, when he finally gets serious, and he really, really goes after Jango Fett. But besides that, there's also a lot of fun lore and Easter eggs to find along the way. For example, when you're on Tatooine later on in the game, you can scan a Tusken Raider, and it will actually be the Tusken Raider who killed Tinto Bagley's in the Mos Espa pod race. So you can actually, scan him, get the bounty on his head, kill him, and then turn that in. So there's actual fun Easter eggs through this as well, which I really liked. The Death Sticks. The Death Sticks are the entire point of this game, and you hear about Death Sticks in Episode 2. So, again, just another little thing that you see there. You get to see a bunch of bounties that Jabba the Hutt put out there. You get to see a crate dragon at one point. There's all sorts. You get to see how Jango Fett got the Slave 1, which is one of the coolest things in this game. I love seeing how he got the Slave 1 and how he made sure that was the only one that was left. A really cool story there. And this game actually does have some difficulty as well, especially because you don't have time to always scan for bounties, so you may lose out on some bounties just because you are overwhelmed in combat and you're trying to stay alive. But it is difficult. There's some tough enemies. There's snipers that will be aiming at you. There's, guys that have rocket launchers shooting rockets at you. And there's all sorts of just enemies all around you. Guys on turrets who are just spraying at you, and if you get hit, just a couple times with those turrets, you're down. And, you're Jango Fett, and you get a bunch of different weapons as him as well, though. You have, obviously, his dual-wielding blasters. You have poison darts. You have his missiles from his jetpack. You have his flamethrower, which is really good on the Bando Gora. You have his rope to tie up people to capture them for bounties. You can even find other, grenade launchers laying around. You can find fully automatic heavy rifles and stuff laying around. There's all sorts of stuff to find and use in this game as Jango Fett, and it makes combat a lot of fun, and they give you plenty of variety when it comes to combat. But even though you still can get some powerful weapons, the game is still difficult even with those powerful weapons. And there is actually consequence to dying in this game, unlike a lot of other games. This game, you have 5 lives per level. If you run out of all of your lives, you basically lose your checkpoint that you had in that level, and you have to redo the entire level. So keep that in mind. There is a little bit of difficulty in this, and it will punish you if you do not get the level beaten within your 5 lives. And there's some levels, especially later on, where that's really, really going to test you. But overall, this is a fantastic game. I love it. I don't feel like a lot of people talk about it, which is unfortunate because it's an amazing game. It's one that you should definitely play if you are a fan of Jango Fett. Even though, yes, it's non-canon now, unfortunately, it's still a fantastic game, and it's definitely worth your time. Even if you're just a fan of Mandalorians in general, pick this game up, play it, check it out, because it is definitely worth your time. And I think you will have a lot more appreciation for Jango Fett. Also, there's a funny blooper reel that you can watch as well. I just wanted to mention that. That's part of the bonuses. They actually animated little bloopers that you can watch, and I like those. I know that was a little bit of a side thing, but I just thought about that, and I was just like, I want to bring that up real quick, so there you go. But thank you guys for watching this video. I hope that you enjoyed. Go check out Star Wars Bounty Hunter if you haven't. It's playable on the PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, or the old school PlayStation 2 and GameCube even. So go pick it up, play it, and let me know what you think. If you have played it, let me know what you think about the game. And let me know down in the comments below also, what is your favorite Star Wars video game? We're going to talk about my favorite one in a few more videos. It will take a little bit to get there. But we're going to talk about my favorite one coming up, and that's Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic. But we will definitely talk about that on the channel coming up. So thank you guys for watching. I'll talk to you next time. You have a fantastic day. Bye-bye.